to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. This is a podcast dedicated to educating and empowering women from preconception, pregnancy, birth, and through early motherhood on wellness lifestyle. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and I'm a maternity pediatric chiropractor and mother who has hand-selected experts in natural holistic healthcare specialties to shine light on options and choices during this exciting phase of a woman's life. Today, I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Dr. Shivani Gupta, and we spent time speaking about the secrets to immune health for busy mamas. We also kind of just talked a lot of things holistic and health related for women that are preparing for pregnancy, pregnant, and have recently given birth. So all things essentially perinatal driven from an Ayurvedic and holistic healthcare perspective. Dr. Shivani Gupta is the founder of the Fusionary Method, has a passion to help others experience unparalleled health, vibrant immunity, and to become happier humans, ready to do their great work in the world and live a life full of joy. Having had a fascination with health and wellness from a young age and seeing firsthand how it profoundly affects not just the quality of an individual's life, but also their loved ones, she discovered that her upbringing in both the U.S. and India gave her rare insight into the particular wisdoms of Western and Eastern health practices. After studying with some of the leading experts in the health field and receiving advanced degrees, Dr. Gupta realized that a Fusionary Formula was the secret to health and that healing and holistic were not at odds with each other, but rather the way to wellness. With a mantra of sleep, food, exercise, movement, self-care, Dr. Gupta believes that a strong immune system is attainable for everyone. Her highly acclaimed Fusionary School is a popular and powerful resource for anyone committed to staying happily healthy. You can find her at ShivaniGupta.com or at FusionaryFormulas.com and all of the social media channels. Hi, Dr. Shivani. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So this is going to be a really fun topic because you and I both are very passionate about empowering women in this perinatal phase of their life, preconception, pregnancy, postpartum. And it is such a sacred place in a woman's life journey. And in general, I feel like we could put a lot more information and content out there that's really inspiring and empowering women instead of kind of creating fear and lack. And having then women making decisions from that place, right? So today's goal is to really give some great content for women that are in perinatal, that are looking to make really educated decisions about their health and the health of their baby. So let's get started. I know, talk a little bit about who you are and how you got into Ayurveda.
Sure. So I am from Houston, Texas, and I was born to an Indian family that had just moved here to America. And my life was very divided. So it was, I was an American kid going to school, and at home we were using spices and herbs. And I'd go to India for months at a time to see my grandparents and my cousins and my family. And I just remember my grandma always using these ancient remedies on me. She'd use these special weird spices anytime I had an ailment. And so I always grew up thinking, well, what's right? Which one works? Is it the natural way? Is it the way that I, if I go to a Walgreens or CVS or any drugstore, what I buy there? And I just always remember thinking, okay, this is interesting that both worlds work. And then fast forward, I went to high school and I had so many colds and flus and sicknesses that came through. And I was taking Augmentin every single month. That's what that's what my pediatrician was prescribing me. My parents were like, oh, you have a cold? You just listen to the doctor. Fast forward further, I end up in college and I couldn't understand why every time I traveled abroad or went to India, I'd end up catastrophically sick. And so finally, I just became this person who tried to live in a bubble. I wouldn't go out too much. I didn't want to catch sicknesses because that always meant that I was knocked out for weeks at a time and couldn't achieve my goals, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't feel my best. And during this time, I also watched my family be very ravaged by the after effects of diabetes. So every time I went to India, someone would pass away from stroke, heart attack. They had Parkinson's. Their leg was getting amputated. Like there were so many issues piling up. It was kind of like a car crash in the family. And I remember being in India so catastrophically sick. And I went to the doctor He was a Dr. Gupta, and he said, you need to take these 12 medications. And I said, you know what? I think you need to explain what those 12 are going to do to my body. I need to.
Wow.
And my whole family was like, you do not speak to a doctor that way. And I said, guess what? This is my body and nobody's paying the price but me. So I need an explanation. And we went through and I said, why don't you not drop a bomb into my gut? Why don't we back that antibiotic down a couple notches? I'm willing to take a risk. You didn't recommend a probiotic. Everything else is for symptoms. I won't be taking it. I'll, deal with my own horrible symptoms right now. And everyone was appalled. And I thought to myself, we're in the land of yoga and Ayurveda. Why have you people not thought to reach into a different toolkit for me? So I went on my own journey and I started deep diving into Ayurveda, applying the lifestyle and the teachings to myself. And I completely turned around my health. And then I became an evangelist, of course, because once you turn around your own health, you're like, how can everybody not know that we could be living differently? And so that's what brought me to my master's in Ayurveda, then my PhD in turmeric, and eventually building my own supplement company. Because I was like, we need to use these herbs somehow in our daily life.
Definitely. So when you were back in India, your grandmother was no longer around to help?
So my mom's mom is actually still living. The one who kept using those remedies on me, she still does. She's coming here to America in a couple of weeks. And I assure you, if I walked in and said I had a stomach ache, she'd say, you need hinka pani. Let me mix you this tea. And that's what I do for my children now. I'm like, oh, GI upset, here you go. So there's very simple solutions that we can use. And I used it a ton when I was pregnant because I had so much GI upset when I was pregnant. And it's simple. It's a spice and a spice mixed together, creating an easy solution.
I love that. And it's like they're from plants and there is so many healing power of plants. I think it's interesting in America, there's a lot of back to that whole misinformation about fear around using herbs during pregnancy specifically. And I find that's really not the case. Like most herbs are extremely safe for children, for pregnant women. And so how would a woman know like what to take and what especially during pregnancy or during breastfeeding, what's safe for her to have?
It's a tough question because like you said, everyone errs on the side of safe, which actually is pretty fear-based that, oh, it's from a plant, it must be dangerous. But it came from the pharmacy, it must be just fine. And I always laugh at that. I'm like, okay, guys.
Or even over the counter. Oh, it's over the counter, it's safe. Not so much.
Take all the Tylenol, all the Advil, all the anything you want, go for it. And it's like, no, these are all, every single thing we put in our body, we have to be conscious of, whether plant or synthetically made. And so people ask me all the time, can I take turmeric when I'm pregnant? I'm like, of course you can. It's a little heating to the body. Yes, it has a heating property. Can we offset that? Sure. Have some ice water with it. Have some coconut water. Like there's ways to cool the body and offset the tiny bump of impact that one could consider slightly negative. But in the end, if the benefit is tremendous, turmeric is anti-inflammatory. It is going to reduce pain. It is going to be immune supportive. It's antibacterial, antiviral, antioxidant. If it's going to support you at like 100 points, then a little 2 or 3 point issue is not that big a deal. So why discount all superfoods, super spices, super herbs as potentially, having an issue? But people reach out to me all the time and I'll look it up real quick and, triple check that it's fine. And for the most part, the majority of adaptogens and herbs that we use are safe when pregnant, breastfeeding, all these things. We've used them for thousands of years in our food.
That's right. And so I think that's the other thing too, is people, turmeric and ginger and these types of things, you can cook with them and they're edible. It's not like just something you have in a capsule and you throw it down in the back of your throat. So, it's cool to kind of incorporate that more into your cooking, right? And your diet, which is what Ayurvedic is mentioning. And then you actually took it to the next level and did create a supplement line. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Sure. So I did my PhD on turmeric and I was so evangelist.
Which is fascinating, by the way. I've never met anybody who did a PhD in turmeric.
Yeah, I had thought I would do it on pregnancy because to me, pregnancy is such a fascinating topic. And I wanted to take bala oil, which has the precursors of ephedra in it. And I wanted to put it on women's calves to see if we could reduce Charlie horses. That was my original PhD topic. And my advisor was like, you're not rubbing anything on women in America. You're not going to get the permissions. And I was like, I know, but Charlie horses were a huge pain point for me during pregnancy. I'm really passionate about solving this with oil. And he's like, I'm sorry, pick a new topic. So I racked my brain, and I love ashwagandha. Like, I'm a huge fan of the adaptogens of Ayurveda, and I'm a big fan of turmeric. So I said, okay, I'm going to go with turmeric because I'm surrounded in South Florida by a family of my in-laws, my husband, everyone's in Western medicine. Everyone's a surgeon. And
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I'm the one Ayurvedic girl who survived through the whole pandemic with all my weird remedies and weird solutions. So it's been a fascinating journey. But when I did the PhD dissertation, I became a true evangelist. We have over 6,000 scientific studies that show the benefits of curcumin with black pepper in the body. And so then I went out to build a supplement, and I talked to my partners and I said, listen, I found a curcumin that's amazing and I really want to use it. My factory said, no, you cannot use that ingredient. That's way too expensive. Nobody spends that much per kilogram for an ingredient in a supplement. That's nonsensical. And I was like, try me. Why don't you just try me? Because my motivation for creating this is impact. And I just want to prove to some of the people around me that Ayurveda works, Ayurveda can do the job, and we don't have to take those other anti-inflammatories that have side effects. So we went about creating it, and it worked. So 7 years ago, when I formulated this, everyone said, my back pain is better, my knee pain, I can tell when I'm not taking it. This is insane. I switched back to Costco because that's what I had, or other brands, let's not name them, but I switched back to other brands at the store. And I felt like it didn't do what yours did. Like, what is it? And I said, well, I didn't really attach myself to a revenue profit target. That wasn't my goal. My goal was impact. And I figured once I proved it to work, I'd figure that business part out on it. And so now 7 years later, we're finally getting that traction. We hit 100 doctors this year, which is huge. So 100 doctors are actively recommending it to their patients. And now we're seeing everything kind of move in that right direction, which is awesome. But over 10,000 people have taken it and have shared with me, you've changed my life. I don't have any itis anywhere in the body, my gingivitis, my allergies, name any joint pain. It's all better. Their hands are functioning better when they had that stiffness.
Yeah. And like you said, you can take it during pregnancy. You can take it while you're breastfeeding. I mean, I know, do you feel comfortable stating that as a supplement?
I don't say it on the bottle. I don't say it on our website because truly we're not supposed to say anything is safe during pregnancy. We're supposed to say just prenatal. But
right.
To me, that's ridiculous. As a practitioner, if you were my friend, would I tell you to take turmeric while you're pregnant? Absolutely. Better this than other anti-inflammatory solutions.
Very much. So when you're speaking to those NSAIDs, they're over the counter, and even, traditional OBGYN would recommend a woman with back pain take acetaminophen. And there's a lot of research to show that can be potentially very damaging to the fetal development and links to autism and things like that. So it is important to really think about what you put in your body during your pregnancy and while you're breastfeeding, and make really conscious decisions around that. And if you have to choose between turmeric and acetaminophen, I think that's a clear decision there to go with the turmeric. And also, like, that's why I get, a lot of pregnant women coming in for adjustments, right? Chiropractic adjustments, because we're able to resolve these joint pains without any medication.
Absolutely. I did chiropractic and acupuncture during pregnancy. I was able to resolve 90% of my issues that way. I had so many different issues where you just do that and you're fine. So then you're not reaching to pop pills or anything to solve the problem. The body is healing itself. That's the whole point of Ayurveda as well. Just like you put the body back into alignment so it stays healing itself constantly. Acupuncture, same thing. And that's what Ayurveda does.
Yeah, I love it. It really is about, there's nothing more powerful healer than the innate intelligence of the body. So that's what, ideally we're supporting, and that, there's so much to be said for that. So let's talk about immune health. We're entering into the fall, winter months, especially up here in the Northeast. It's colder. There's a lot of hype on the media about these new COVID variants and, flu is on its way. All these like germs are out to get us, right? So how do we kind of separate from that fear mongering and really get grounded in how to have a vitalistic health, immune health for ourselves and our families?
I really look at it as a circle. So in Ayurveda, we teach that our health doesn't come just from what we eat or the supplements we take or the nutrients we take. It's a whole circle. It's our sleep. It's our self-care practices. It's the activities we do to connect with nature. It's the activities we do to really stay, like you said, grounded and in our parasympathetic nervous system instead of the sympathetic nervous system. And so I really look at the fall season, especially now, as, okay, what is my self-care plan? And what is my health maintenance plan to stay fit and healthy and strong and vital through it all? And where am I going to have a little bit of fun, but think in advance about what all that is? Because for me, I eat a very anti-inflammatory diet. So if I hit the holidays and all of a sudden I just go at it and party and drink and do all the things, I am literally setting myself up for hitting a wall, getting sick, and then that's it, I'm done. And historically, I always did that. I'd have Christmas, and then by the day after Christmas, I was knocked out, sick, ended up in urgent care looking for a solution and couldn't find one. And so I really encourage people to look at what is your maintenance plan. For me, it's I must work out 4 days a week. I must do yoga once a week. I must maintain a very healthy, fresh diet that's nutrient dense. So that's like my foundation going into the holiday season. And then I stack on top of it. So if I'm going to travel more or I'm going to party more and have fun, am I going to take my anti-inflammatory supplements? Am I going to take my immune boosting supplements with vitamin C, vitamin D, all those things? And I kind of have a tiered plan. So the minute I start not feeling great, which can happen, I put a new level of my tiered plan in place. And then eventually, if I do feel like, okay, I went overboard, I partied from Christmas till New Year's, I'll take everything. I'll throw the kitchen sink at it.
Right. And I think that is such a good awareness. People link that the colder weather is what creates, like, I guess, like an immune deficiency. But really, we do find it's that holiday lifestyle of more sugar, more gluten, dairy, processed foods, and alcohol that really kind of deplete us, and maybe less sleep, right? And we just get depleted. And so we become more vulnerable. I think that's the big thing here to remember. The germ theory has been disproven. Germs do not get us sick, right? It's really when we don't have a healthy lifestyle that we are susceptible to illness and symptoms with an exposure to, quote, germ so in other words, we can be around germs all the time and not get sick. That's the kind of the bottom line here.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to build your immune system. Like I have an immune system made of steel. I would say 95+% of the time. And it's crazy through the pandemic, how many times I was very actively exposed, sleeping next to people who were sick, this, that, and the other, all the time. I was exposed and never got sick. And I was kind of shocked myself after my history and my life around my immune system. And so I really attribute that to building a foundation of activeness. And like you said, in the cold season, I just think we're more vulnerable because of our behaviors. And also maybe you're getting less sunlight because it's cold outside. And so how can you actively cut that issue off by being conscious of it?
It's so true. So it's like, maybe you need a full spectrum light next to your desk a half hour a day, or just going outside, even if it's cold, you bundle up, go outside for a half hour, no sunscreen, just to get that vitamin D, adding a vitamin D supplement in the cooler months or shorter daylight hours. These are things that we can do that can help maintain a healthy immune system. And I do think it's inspiring to hear your history, because you're not saying, oh, I've had this amazing immune system my whole life. You're saying my immune system really used to suck, and I made it worse with all the antibiotics. But yet I came back from that stronger than ever. And so that also speaks to me about how healthy your gut is. Do you want to talk a little bit about gut health and Ayurveda and how that's linked to the immune system?
Yes, absolutely. So in Ayurveda, we have a concept called Agni. Agni means fire. And so Ayurveda teaches us that we have a digestive fire inside of our gut, and our job is to tend to it, actively tend to it, like you would take care of a child. You'd wake the child up, feed the child, set it up to be ignited and happy for the day. Okay, that's your metabolism and your gut health on point, ready to go through the day with you. You might choose intermittent fasting. In Ayurveda, we don't want you to munch and snack all day and kind of wear down that fire. You want to utilize it and then let it rest and digest and do what it's supposed to. So there's a lot of deep philosophy that Ayurveda taught us 5,000 years ago about our gut health. And now I love it because the modern day conversation is microbiome and gut microbiome connection and immune systems in the gut. And Ayurveda already said this. Ayurveda said, your gut is everything. Your gut is life. You want an immune system. You honor and love that gut. Every single night, you take your digestive fire and you put it to bed. You relax the mind. You relax all systems. Allow healing to happen overnight. If you don't allow healing to happen overnight, you're not going to come out healthy and fresh and strong the next day. So yes, honoring gut health is so important. I'm calibrated to my gut. And the minute I don't, it's game over. So I was at the office yesterday and Maria on my team was like, you have a scratchy throat. What's wrong with you? I was like, oh, I can't even tell you. All I did was have 2 drinks over the weekend on vacation, ate a little bit of gluten, and boom, the whole system is making it clear, very rapidly. And she's like, well, that's not fair. How come we don't get to have fun? I said, it's not about that. It's about once you're healthy and strong and your system understands what it needs to be healthy, too much deviation is just you being vulnerable, setting yourself up for a vulnerability, and then something comes in and causes trouble.
Yeah. And I think that is just such great feedback. And unfortunately, if people are in an ongoing low level of inflammation, just consistently from, daily dietary exposures to gluten, dairy, processed foods, sugars, things like that, you don't even, get that feedback because it's just always there, right? And so that's where something like a modified elimination diet is so powerful for even 30 days. You cut the crap out and then you get a really clear picture of what foods maybe you're sensitive to, that you are eating on a regular basis, that your body needs a break from as you heal the gut. And you're just kind of, the gut fire you're speaking of is a good gut fire, but there's also the inflammatory, leaky gut, right? Which is also a different type of fire that we want to heal to have normal gut function.
Absolutely. And leaky gut is so prevalent. I work alongside other amazing supplement companies and I recommend their probiotics. I recommend their supplements to everybody because if we're not actively loving that gut lining, there's 50 things in the world that are ready to go and damage it for us. And it's so easy to hurt it and it's not as easy to heal it. I myself was diagnosed with leaky gut and I laughed. I was like, I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner and I have leaky gut. Are you kidding me? And then I went on the journey of fixing it because no one's perfect. And again, the modern day lifestyle with its environmental toxins and all the issues, all the stresses is kind of there to cause those irritations. And so people say all the time, oh, but I grew up eating McDonald's. I grew up eating all these processed foods and I'm fine. And I look at them and I think, my advisor gave me an example when I was doing my dissertation. He said, look, when we're in our 20s, young teens and 20s, we tend to eat all the junk food, have poor sleep, stresses, we're in college, whatever, and we flip on all the light switches of inflammation in the body. Go through life, you turn them on. So 20s, you go through your 30s, you go through your 40s, all of a sudden in 40s, you get some signals. The body's like aches, pains, I don't know about that, I can't do so many things. 50s, he goes, by now, you've hit metastasis. So all of a sudden, things are going real south real fast. Now you're running to the doctor to understand what's wrong with you. But you started a fire decades earlier and just let it burn and burn. Rarely do we take time, especially in the West, to turn off the light switches. And that's what you're talking about, is our job is to encourage people, do the elimination diet, understand what a detox is. In Ayurveda, I teach Panchakarma. Take 21 days. Take weeks, 3 weeks a year to detox, especially at the intersection of seasons. That's how we get to win at long-term preventive health.
It's so true. In my practice, I have men and women coming in and they're like late 30s, early 40s, and they're like, oh, I feel old. And it is kind of like, even like right around that 40th birthday, it's just like, oh, like I can't do what I've been doing for the past 20, 30 years. Right. And there's this shock. And I'm like, well, what you were doing was really not healthy. Right. And it does catch up to us, and it's not age. It's really just a lack of self-care and a lack of an awareness that your lifestyle needs an upgrade because it's not sustainable. I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, we can kind of abuse ourselves when we're younger and not necessarily feel the price of it, but it does catch up. And, those light switches, those are our genes. We turn them on, we turn them off. We're the ones in control here. We have the power to literally impact our health. And it doesn't even matter what we've inherited from our family. We can turn off the bad genes, turn on the good genes, and really live a vibrant life, based off of how we think and feel and move and eat and sleep and all the things that we need for foundational health.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Yeah. So it is powerful. Back to the microbiome. I know this comes up, here and there in other podcast episodes, but let's talk about a pregnant woman or even a preconception woman who's preparing her microbiome and maybe how that impacts the baby's development in utero based off of her microbiome health. And certainly, I don't know if you want to speak to like a vaginal delivery versus a surgical birth and how that impacts the baby's microbiome. But I'd love to cover that a little bit more.
Sure. So, in Ayurveda, we teach that the decision to conceive a child is a very big decision. It's not to be taken lightly. And so it's interesting when you see the intersection of the culture, the Indian culture with Ayurveda, because truly a husband and wife who are introduced are selected by the parents to be a perfect match in many ways. I was actually introduced to my husband, even though I was born here. My parents called me and said, I found the perfect boy for you. And I was like, are you kidding? I'm American. I will find who I want. And they said, no, actually, he's so perfect for you. It's insane. Just go on a blind date, meet him. Turns out he was the one for me. So they really, yeah. And he was perfect for me. I've married 18 years now. And so they select this person knowing that culturally, religiously, socioeconomically, personality-wise, there's so many factors, but they can kind of see as your parents, oh, there's this perfect person for you. And what's interesting is in Ayurveda, when you bring two people together to have a child, their matchup is going to decide so much about that child. The child's dosha, the child's nature, obviously the child's medical history will be joined there. And so I really took it very seriously when I was finally ready to conceive my first child. I said, okay, I'm going to take 2 years. I'm going to be my healthiest. I'm going to be the fittest. I'm going to do a stool test. I'm going to know my blood work in detail. Back in my first kid was in 2010. So I don't think we even talked about functional medicine the way we do now. But I went to homeopaths, naturopaths. I went to Ayurvedic doctors. I detoxed the body. I did a 3-week Panchkarma in India. Full detox of the system. So there could be no parasite, no issue in my system at all. Full oiliation of the gut lining so that ghee and all the things that could have lined the gut and healed it in every way possible was done. Then I was like, okay, now I'm ready to be happy and conceive this baby. And so I really wish that people understood how powerful it is to be in your best, happiest self state when you conceive. And when it comes to the microbiome is a reflection of us, and we are a reflection of nature. So that's why when it comes time to have a baby in Ayurveda, we look at it as, is the mother happy? Is her environment happy? Are the people around her happy? How is the state of being? The minute you know that someone's pregnant, her parents, in my case, my family, would fly in, make sure everything's all set. Is she settled? Do we need to fly someone there to be with her, to feed her properly and nurture her properly for that journey she's embarking on? And we also have a 40-day post-baby plan. 40 days post-baby, typically your mother's going to come live with you and feed you very specific foods that are only good for you and the baby during breastfeeding. And so, yes, of course, nature-wise, we all pretty much, I wouldn't say it that way, but nature-wise, for thousands of years, vaginal birth was the preferred method. It is more natural. I had a doula. If we can have doula, midwives, and this kind of support, I think it's ideal. I'm also of the belief that, modern Western medicine has a lot of support and tools for us. So if you can hybridize in a way that works best for you, I think that's great. But it's one of those things where I do wish that we all took a step back from the birth complex that kind of exists right now and recognize that we have so much power. We have the ability to really tune in deeply to our intuition and know what is right for our body, instead of living in this state of fear and saying, oh, well, the doctor said, and they said, and so it must be, and Pinterest says, and my friend says, and whatever else. Instead saying, I know that if I'm my natural, healthiest, most organic self, and I do what's best for my body and my mental happiness, my emotional happiness, my spiritual happiness, then the baby that I'm going to bring into the world will be in that alignment. And so I wrote a book called The Conscious Pregnancy, because my goal was to show people how to have an Ayurvedic pregnancy and how to honor those first 40 days. Because I saw so many women around me would get pregnant and then just go at birth at 200 miles an hour, hit the hospital, have a horrible birth experience, which then results in trauma of mother and baby. Afterwards, 2 weeks later, they're like, I got to go to the gym. And I was like, are you kidding?
Or back to work. Yeah.
Or back to work. I had a physician sister-in-law. She went right back to work and operating. And I was like, in Ayurveda, this is wind energy coming in the body. It's going to come in your joints. You will pay a price physically for this in your long-term health. We can't take such a huge life event and then just hard switch over back to normal life. So there's a lot there to remember in terms of honoring the self.
So well said. And, that is something culturally, being up in the New York City area, we have a lot of amazing, strong, powerful type A women that have really, worked to advance themselves in their careers and build a certain lifestyle. Now they're ready to become moms, right? And they're typically older, let's say over 35. And it can be hard, especially when you've now kind of created this lifestyle where you work hard, you party hard, you're doing your thing, and now you're pregnant. And that lifestyle is not going to serve you. Your body's not going to let you do that lifestyle. And then you become a mom and you have a newborn, and that's the same thing. You really shift your identity, really. And I think that's important to recognize that is normal. And how do women almost kind of grieve the loss of that former identity that they really were attached to, and now really kind of enter into this motherhood identity?
So that story really resonates with me, because I remember when I had my first child, I was such a rock star. I was so type A. I had done all this research on how to have an organic, healthy baby. I had my own PR company, and I thought, I see women all the time lose themselves when they have babies, and that won't be me. I'm just going to do it, flawlessly, and it's going to be easy. And unfortunately, you can't be a second-time mom your first time, no matter who you are and no matter how smart you are, is what I learned. And it was quite a humbling experience, because I had tried. I had done all this research and shown up so ready to go. And I always tell people that having my first kid, I felt like I was Tom Brady. I was on top of my game, felt awesome. Life was so perfect. And I felt like you had taken me and dropped me in the middle of Siberia without money or a cell phone. Like I was just left helpless. And I was meant to go walk and walk and walk through the deserts of the earth until I found my way home to myself. And so during that time, I ended up reaching to like energy medicine and spirituality and yoga. And I actually ended up doing my master's in Ayurveda during that time, post-baby, right after my kiddo was born. And I remember thinking, you know what? I'm just going to follow Ayurveda's wisdom. And I'm just going to see, does the science really work? Because I'm obviously suffering and I want to see if I can make it happen. So as I did it, I realized that my dosha from birth was pitta. I'm a pitta from birth. And having kids shifted me. My first kid, I shifted 40 pounds. It shifted my lifestyle. I became this nurturer. I became someone who loved on and fed everybody all the time. My whole identity changed to this new person. And I couldn't find my way back to my original self. And so I did the work then to balance my body, circadian rhythm, gut healing, getting my body back into alignment with my original dosha and identity helped me finally come back home in my own self. And it took way longer than I ever thought it could. It took years. And so that's part of what I teach people is, look, if you're feeling off in your body, you feel like you've landed somewhere else and you're not yourself, it's our job to work together and figure out what are the different key steps that we can breadcrumb you back to your original mind-body constitution and your most balanced self, so the body can heal itself and put you back on that original path you were on.
So that's fascinating. So giving birth actually moved your dosha.
Yeah, it caused such an imbalance that it pushed you into such an imbalanced state that you had to come back to your original dosha.
Wow. And I would say a lot of new moms are feeling that imbalance. So talk to me about what you did postpartum to help rebalance yourself.
Well, in Ayurveda, we teach that, again, you use the whole circle. You lean into every aspect you need to. And so in my case, when it came to aligning myself back to my mind-body constitution, I reached to exercise, to yoga, to diet. I switched back into a very anti-inflammatory gut healing diet. In Ayurveda,
can you talk about what that looks like?
Sure. In Ayurveda, we teach something called the sattvic diet. And that means a diet that's it's almost like it's meant to cause peace and harmony in your life. And so that means buying local, eating more organic, eating more fresh foods, eating less processed foods. Don't use the microwave. Don't, buy foods don't eat old food. We really believe that food past a day or two old is not good for you. It's dead. It doesn't have the properties of nourishing the body. And so I really took that time post kids to post each baby to focus on that and bring my body back into its true healthiest state, following circadian rhythm, honoring sleep the best you can with little kids, but really investing in good sleep and drinking the teas and the herbs that I needed to get that good sleep. And so slowly and surely, I brought myself back into a state of balanced body. And I find once I get my body grounded and in alignment, emotionally into alignment with my life, then we can go into mental and spiritual as well.
Totally. How long would you say that took after the birth?
I think the first kid throws you for a really big loop is my honest answer. So post Anya, it probably took 2 to 3 years. And then with my second kid, I knew it was coming for me. So I did not let it happen the same way. I was much more careful during my pregnancy. I was much more conscious, much more aware. And so I kind of had my son, and within 6 months, I was like, I am not giving up my original self again. So.
Wow, it is such a learning process. And I think, for first-time pregnant mamas listening, we can learn a lot from other women who've gone before us to understand the wisdom and what's required to essentially recover from a pregnancy where our bodies get very depleted nutritionally and energetically to create this baby, a birth process, which is intense. And potentially has some trauma attached to it, right? So healing from that. And then the overwhelm of taking care of a newborn, and really how asking for support and help wherever you can get it is so necessary for the recovery, right? Because we really can't do it all by ourselves. It's too much.
It is too much. And I think community is so important. In my culture, literally someone will come stay with you. If it's not your mom, it's her sister. If it's not her sister, it's an aunt from somewhere. Because we assume that mom needs to literally lay in bed in a cocoon, keeping the body warm and nurtured while nurturing baby. How can it be assumed that we're bringing life and we have this 4th trimester going on and we can somehow be super mom, keeping it all together, managing our whole life, dealing with work and all those things? So I really believe in honoring 40 days, honoring those first 6 months, honoring that first year to the extent that you can as a very magical, precious time. It's your investment in your long-term health. It's your investment in that baby, being a Zen baby. I really wanted calm, beautiful, happy people. I saw around me if you don't have a happy pregnancy and a happy childhood, later there's a lot of prices to pay. So I really looked at it as, how do I invest in those early time periods as being the best, most peaceful, most joyful times for me and baby.
It is so true. And I would say that especially those first 9 months postpartum, the baby's health and emotional state is very correlated to the mother's health as well, and how she's processing emotions. So, when we see a more irritable, colicky baby, typically we'll see a mom who needs a lot of help. So they're a dyad, right? They're energetically so connected. So it's important to really honor that connection. And it's not that there's a blame or a shame here, but it's just like, okay, this is information that that mom needs some help, right?
Yeah. It's not easy. It is not easy at all. I was really shocked. I really was trying to be a second time mom the first time I had my first, and it was impossible. As someone who's capable and intelligent and now successful in business, I was really shocked that motherhood can turn life so upside down. But now looking back, my kids are 12 and 9 now. Now looking back, I'm like, wow, there's nothing that taught me more or changed me more in my lifetime than motherhood. So I'm eternally grateful to my family for supporting me through it. And I'm a much stronger woman for it. So it's an interesting time, because you're simultaneously growing, changing, evolving, and falling deeply in love with this beautiful child. So it's a lot. It's a lot to process.
It is a lot. And it's normal to feel that intensity or that overwhelm. And I think that, it's like, this is universal, right? As when you go through a major life transition, it's going to be unsettling, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with that. And the more that we can stay grounded and stay like back to that circle, the foundational steps needed for health, and we continue to support ourselves with that. I think what we see is when we're getting the sleep we need and the food we need and the movement and all those things, we're able to make decisions from a more grounded place, and that's going to then impact our future, right? And our children's future as well.
Absolutely. And I think having a best friend helps. I remember having a best friend to commiserate with through all of it was one of the best things. I still have that best friend, and we still try to navigate motherhood together. These are the kids' activities, and how do we do this, and how do we help shape them to be great, change makers in the world. And then, from Ayurveda, I lean heavily on the self-care rituals. I lean on each self-care ritual that I practice each day, whether it's tongue scraping, oil pulling, dry brushing, abhyang massage. There's so many ways Ayurveda can support us in doing little tiny acts of self-care that are little slices and little tiny slices of our time, but have a profound impact on how we feel. And I find that as a mom who's trying to work and do all the other things, I shouldn't say it that way, as a mom who is working and winning in all the areas, it's the self-care that keeps me going and allows me to have that energy and that presence to keep doing the next phase of each day.
There's no doubt. My self-care practice has always been one of my higher values for myself, and way before I became a mom. And I know that's what's helped me continue to really thrive and not feel the adrenal exhaustion and the depletion to the same level. Because it is, there's a lot more on your plate when you have a little one who you have to take care of. And that's why we have to continue to fill up our own cup. We have to put our oxygen mask on first, because it's really what it's going to help us be happy and joyful and thrive. And our families will be a reflection of that.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, so true. So Dr. Shivani, do you have any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
I really encourage everyone to learn more about Ayurveda, take a deep dive into it. I have a lot of videos online, but there's also so many great practitioners. I find Ayurveda, from a preconception planning standpoint to a detoxing pre-pregnancy to how we manage ourselves through pregnancy to postpartum and how we manage that part can really change the game when it comes to your health as the mother and the health of the baby, and thus the family's health overall.
It's totally true. So if people want to find out more about your videos and your website and also your supplements, can you tell us where to find you?
Sure. So my website's shivanigupta.com, Shivani Gupta.com. My supplement company is Fusionary Formulas, Fusionary, fusionaryformulas.com. And then I'm on all the social platforms and YouTube under that name.
Yes. And if people go to your website, the Fusionary Formulas, is that on your Shivani Gupta website as well?
Yes, it is. And we made a special code for you.
Yes. So you want to share that?
Yes. Your special code is Well-Adjusted Mama. So if you use Dr. Laura's code, you'll get 15% off on all your orders.
On the first order?
Yes.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I know for the women listening, if they're feeling like they need help with their sleep or inflammation and adaptogenic stress, these are all pretty typical things found for women living in the modern lifestyle, that having these types of high quality supplements. And that's the other thing too. We kind of touched on it briefly, but not all supplements are created equal. And so the level of the quality of ingredients does matter. And that's why this is, these types of products are going to give superior results compared to things that you can find like at a drugstore, for example.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of potency, authenticity, transparency, and how we can build things that we as women can get a profound benefit from. I don't have time to drink 8 teas. I need to know the one that will be perfect for sleep, the one that will give me adaptogenic benefit, the one turmeric that'll reduce that inflammation and get me out of pain. So that's what I try to create for the world, is those things that I need and that we all need for our vibrant health.
Yep, totally. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Today's talk with Dr. Shivani was really impactful and empowering, and I'm really excited that you got to listen to her insight, her wisdom, her passion for women and all of us really in healing ourselves and knowing that there's that potential to give hope that, we don't have to live with our symptoms for the rest of our life. We do not have to take medications for the rest of our life. We can literally turn on the innate intelligence of our body and support our body's own powerful healing and health, and model that for our children so they also know that healing comes from within. And if you feel inspired to go check out her website at shivanigupta.com and order supplements from her Fusionary Formula method, where she has her own high quality turmeric and other Ayurvedic supplements, please use the code Well-Adjusted Mama for 15% off your first order. And I'm excited for you to check it out.